안녕하세요. Sorry, that's about the only Korean I can speak today, but thank you so much for having me today to represent Mistletoe Collective Impact Community. So let's get right on to the talk. So today I would like to talk a little bit about who we are, and out of 9 agendas that we have, talk about specifically on education effort. So Mistletoe is not like a typical company or investment firm. We call ourselves Collective Impact Community for a reason, which I will get into later. But we believe in the power of networks. It's very interesting that the network chart was shown before my talk, but we believe in the power of every individual, either as entrepreneurs or filmmakers or teachers or any individual with passion and enthusiasm to propel the world. And we'd like to achieve being part of the ecosystem building this community by harnessing the power of technology. So we say our mission is to turn entrepreneurial challenges into world impact. So we work with entrepreneurs around the world and try to kind of help bring the power of their efforts into tangible social impacts. So prior to Mistletoe, we had a company called Movida, which was mainly focused on early level seed acceleration for startups. And roughly 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, Taizo decided to found Mistletoe. Do you know what Mistletoe means? It's kind of like a branch where birds flying can rest. So if you think bird, today we have a lot of bird references. If entrepreneurs are bird flying and struggling, they can rest on Mistletoe. So that's kind of how the vision was formed to start Mistletoe, and how we actually do that. I think this chart kind of encapsulates the different ways we work with entrepreneurs. So the more traditional way we used to do is C&D, LP investment and VC investment. But increasingly so, we have a startup studio in Tokyo, and we'll probably have a few more in different parts around the world. But it's not a co-working space, but it's a place where the community can gather and find serendipity and collaborate. And then increasingly we work with ecosystem builders. For example, Slush Asia, now it's called Slush Tokyo, is a startup event, started originally in Finland, and Taizo brought that into Japan, and now it's become one of the biggest startup events in Japan. And we work with a bunch of other social entrepreneurship accelerators or ecosystems in Japan as well. So this is kind of on aggregate and a snapshot of where we are today, but I believe Taizo is probably one of the biggest angel investors in Japan and possibly in the region, and we do work with quite a large number of entrepreneurs, increasingly around the world. And we also work with universities such as the Minerva School and Stanford University as well. And this is just kind of rough overview of where our portfolio or the partners are resided. So there's still the majority are in Japan, but increasingly around the world. So these are 9 agenda areas we work at, and it's called self-directed learning, but this lifelong learning is the squad that I'm mainly working in. And I'll try to rush a little bit. So we are about connecting dots, and I'll get into education in the last 5 minutes. So this is very, image chart. It's not based on real numbers. But one of the main areas of Mistletoe's interest in education is how to preserve and improve creativity of kids, such that we can have more innovators. So these are some of the startups and organizations that we work with in education. And we're not necessarily focused on any particular age group, but we would like to work with the passionate entrepreneurs and organizations that are doing great things to help propel the creativity of children. So I will introduce some of them today in my remaining time. The areas are actually quite wide. Some are focused on science, some are focused on making, some are focused on coding and English. We created last March, so it's been around for a little over a year, targeted for upper elementary school children, and we have a space a little bit, about a half an hour away from Tokyo in the suburban area, and it's a space where kids are in charge of their own learning. It's a very free-form space where we have adults helping them to create things, but there's no curriculum, and it's a very much sort of self-directed learning space. Just a little bit on the Robocon project. So the community is kind of developing to the level that kids are a little bit, can take a lot more initiatives rather than sort of adults saying, hey, let's have a Robocon project. It grew as an organic process. We have a 3 laser cutter and people and former engineers helping kids make some robots and cars. And they started playing and making different shapes, and it became a conversation. Hey, wouldn't that be fun if we have a Robocon? So kids started planning together with adults, and just a few weeks ago they had a Robocon of an adult and a child working as a pair and competing against other teams. There's about 15 to 20 teams, and I was really interested in that adult and the child have to work together, but in many cases, children took almost all the points, and adults are the one pulling the legs. So it was one of the signs that kids have really great capabilities of designing and building things and making that also workable. I know I'm out of time, so I'm just going to flip through other portfolios that we have. This is one of the largest coding schools. They work with the universities, campuses, and this is T-Kiss it's a collaboration with a Japanese company called CCC, Cultural Convenience Club, and in one place right next to Irbita, it's after-school programs where we have a bunch of 21st century education service providers. They can share this space to provide different mixed learnings to children. And this is an English learning app where primary school kids, in order for them to progress in games, they have to be able to speak a bit of English. And this one's quite interesting because we're actually combining the learning app with performing theater. So now we have a new company, the team actually go to schools to perform English plays, and based on these characters, and then once they get really interested through the play, and then they can move on to practice with that. And as you know, Japan is a very multicultural country, and we are also working with Minerva School to bring in top-level students from various countries to work with Japanese students and startups. And we're also working with this startup trying to build a science high school with students from all around Asia. I think this is one of the ways to bring Asia's collectivism together and work with the Japanese research institutions. The curriculum is going to be mostly based out of a self-directed, project-based learning model. Sorry, I ran out of time, but thank you so much for listening. And this year's effort is, you've seen all these different pieces that we involved in today, but our focus is to really kind of bring together more ecosystem and building, working with existing education system as well to bring some of these essences into wider education community. So hopefully next time I will come back, or in the future, next year onwards, and we'll be able to share more update on the ecosystem built development.